Greenbank. A full-time brilliant actor was he, with costumes, lines and scenery. Mortarboard gown, blazer and shorts, dressed for classroom, chapel or sports. For backdrops he'd buildings of timber and brick, though only a few in excellent nick, and fields and pitches and driveway of oaks, all furnished with gladness, sadness and jokes. He'd everywhere be, and all could see he worked day and night without extra fee. "We like it," he'd say, "and well done, my son." But days were black if the team hadn't won. With feet on the ground he lived through his fantasy, Arnold of Rugby, Trollope and Monastery. Beauty, drama and visions of tragedy and imaginary things only he could see. Yes, he lived his life on another plane, way above those who are merely sane. An occasional pose was the practical man with hammer, saw and oiling can. But once he'd picked up nail or screw, his team discovered he hadn't a clue. Behind bright eyes excitement shone, with insecurities pushing him on. He stood on a stone, all alone. Would he slip, be pushed, or eventually blown? He saw all things through the eyes of a boy, loneliness, friendship, ambition and joy, but seldom showed when conceding a day that losing with grace is the gentleman's way. He'd love to have been a Cambridge Don, but chose the wrong subject to ruminate on. Literature would have suited his flair, maths just led into lonely air. Was his King's a place for personal growth or an end in itself? Surely for both. But many had occasion to wonder when personal feelings were trodden under. Behind the poses, acute perceptions of boys' potentials and motivations. Later, some found he'd equipped them in ways which led them to make much more of their days. Others felt his only purpose was Floreat Semper, Collegium Regis. Other staff. Romano, Ray Hogg and Thundering Drac ran with those ahead of the pack. For a lucky few there also was Dodd, with the laws of the universe straight from God. LCMS ran a smack-a-miss test with penalties simply one of the best. Concentration was learnt in a day, others took years to steer you that way. Too brisk for Elsie, the obvious nickname, he became just Else, of musical fame. Not with him was music a grind, you'd get involved and all would find tears and joys and romantic illusion emerging clear from sonic confusion. Stretched to embrace the things of eternity, you'd blink and see a new paternity. Sports. Cricketers' games could last an eternity, which might explain their humbling serenity. Bloods and nonchalant cognoscenti, cloaked in mystery, aplenty. Rugby was quite a different matter, struggle and stomp, pass and batter. Brilliant backs brightly on show, with forwards anonymous toiling below. Most of them soon completely muddied, and more than a few proudly bloodied. Swimming. When Starp took over down at the baths, he led his boys down challenging paths. Swimming became a respectable code, not just bathing and couldn't be blowed. In previous years we'd gazed in awe as stopwatches, taken from sanctuary store, were used to reveal when records were set, on sports days only, not settling a bet. For Starp they appeared every day, impersonal, useful friends, you could say. Starts and turns and styles would improve, and week by week seconds remove. So many a year a record would fall in breaststroke, backstroke, relay or crawl. Rowing appeared, backed by Rolf, with status just ahead of golf. But soon it rose to level pegging with cricket and footy, no need of begging. But rowers, perched on sliding seats, win their races 'cause they cheats. With brother sitting close to brother, they look one way and row another. Chapel. In chapel one could gather one's strength, in prayer and hymn, nothing of length. The whole school united, no argument here, and day boys attended right through the year. Presbys there were, and Methodist folk trying on the Anglican yoke. Biblical readings united us all, with David, Abraham, Matthew and Saul. We heard and we prayed, and oh how we sang from hymn book and psalter, and red walls rang with trebles and basses, and those just as keen with voices awkwardly in between. On Sundays, black suits in spite of the heat, with choir and canticles richly complete, and visiting preachers. I recall quite a few who never used one, if 2 words would do. Anzac Day. We like to think them brave and plucky, 'tis certain they were darned unlucky. The debt each paid was earned by others, well-meaning, less unlucky brothers. They might have borne quite other names, Richard and Jeff, Andrew and James. Besides a name, what's left of them now? To what would they wish us to bow? Let's honour them with lives well made, let's thus remember those who paid. With love and labour richly bless, with care and gifts of more, not less. Yes, some lost their lives while brave and plucky, others, those just darned unlucky, lost theirs while sleeping or chatting with mates, surprised by calm and pearly gates. The unlucky are still, surprised by pain and lonely hours in wind and rain. The Leavers. Dismissed with his blessing, they say their goodbyes with heavy hearts and watery eyes. Now valued as deeply as successes and pleasings are struggles, wounds and survivals of teasings. On farms, in business and various professions, in medicine, law and committee sessions, they'll find team spirit goes a long way on paths hewn by others with guaranteed pay. But a lonely few will follow their star like footsore kings from Orientar. Staff had claimed, "We train them to lead so parents can feel properly feed." But first they insisted that all must follow the rules of the school, e'en the seemingly hollow, and follow the teachings of Bible and churches, and examples of oldies on exemplary perches. So follow, 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 but so lead by example and humbly go. Overview. Now, if you think all that's not fair, just pause a while. Just stop and stare into the past and then concede that all of it was partly true and much has passed beyond all view. With so much accomplishment richly replete, was kings a throne for the dragon conceit? Was chapel a theatre for clerical platitude, or a productive nursery of Christian attitude? Surely the Almighty, watching our game, was seeing the sower of parable fame. Today, male and female, bold-hearted and faint, the modern generation ain't to understand the monastic ways as it texts and computes and travels and plays. It has its own bright joys and ambitions, hopes, despairs, and moral positions. In middle age, do KCOBs do as they ought or just as they please? Are status seekers and status shunners, sedentary blobs and compulsory runners, embracing love and shunning hate with those obliged to stand and wait? Though some good memories fade and blur, mostly they shine just as they were. Indeed, time brightens the best of the past. Boredom and sadness just don't last. Now, in old age, with knees, hips and hair, and hormonal levels not what they were, let's remember the others, those not now here, and look to the future without any fear. Let's recall all the pleasures and funny wild pranks and ignore the regrets, look back and give thanks.